What's going on, fam? Man, the GEN.YAHANNA here. Had to jump in here with you right quick on another one. So they're about to pass the Breonna's law. Breonna Taylor, which if you haven't heard, I'm sure you have. 3 police officers with a no-knock warrant kicked in their door, her and her husband's door, shot her 8 times, killed her. Her husband fired back, shot one cop in the leg. They arrested him for attempted murder on a police officer. Eventually, the judge dismissed the case and released them because, of course, they came in his house in plain clothes with a no-knock warrant. This has been going on for years and years. So finally, the Louisville, Kentucky City Council approved to abolish it. Now, they've had from 5 to 8 black people on this city council for years, for many, many years, and whites. And yet this bill has never been passed before, which once again, it shows you that you have to come up against the spirit of this place for you to get anything done. They had to almost burn the whole country down for these black people, and of course these whites, many of them white Jews, for them to turn around and fix this situation. This has been going on for decades, which is why, once again, don't be mad at me that I don't have faith in your voting system, that I don't have faith in your city councils. They sit around and pass laws every day to empower corporations to rape these cities blind, to set up businesses for foreigners and others to invest funds all over the world. But they cannot sit down and pass one decent law about helping black people and Latino people and Native people who are struggling every day to function in their cities. They can't pass a single law that would help them until riots break out across the whole damn country. That's why black people need a better way. If you gotta burn down the country every time you get one law passed, something is definitely wrong. And your eyes should be open and saying to the Lord, which way do we go to change what it is that I'm seeing every day? So let me read a little bit about her law, and then I want to take you back for a quick second. And here's the thing. Now, this story with Breonna Taylor, it's known all over the country. And you have many city councils that are filled, majority, with black council members. Let's see if they turn around and follow suit and pass no-knock warrant laws, because it is ridiculous. And the amount of people that they've killed and in the manner that they've killed them has been heinous. Again, I'm going to go back to Eleanor Bumpers, which many of you have heard the name and many of you have not heard the full story. I'm going to give you a briefing on that story that took place some 35 years ago. I had just come into the truth somewhere around that time, and shortly after that, they murdered this elderly woman in New York City, I believe in the Bronx. I'll come back to it in a second. Let me read a little bit about this Breonna's law, and then I want to show you a couple quick scriptures. Let's check it out. It says today, Mayor Greg Fisher of Louisville, Kentucky, said that he would sign Breonna's law after city council members voted unanimously on the Thursday evening to ban no-knock warrants, a controversial procedure that the city's police force used during the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor in March. I plan to sign the law as soon as it hits my desk, says Fisher in a statement. After the Metro Council vote, I suspended use of the warrants indefinitely last month and wholeheartedly agree with the city council that risk to residents and officers with this kind of search outweigh any benefit. All of a sudden, now he can see the risk. He couldn't see the risk before this. Before all these protests and all this going on, he couldn't see the risk. Which shows you, man, that your councils and your city councils are not working for you, man. They work for corporations. This is only being done because so much spotlight, so much heat, so much hell. You understand? George Floyd had to be murdered in the street right on the back of Breonna Taylor before they turned around and said, wait a minute, man, maybe we need to pass this to calm things down. That's what it takes for you to get. But meanwhile, let a little Caucasian child die in a boating accident. They'll change a law that day. There'll be a law that day. She died in a boating accident, a car accident, or something like that. But it takes a riot damn near for them to fix something that's been going on at least the last 35 years that I know of. And I'm certain it's been going on far, far more even before that.
Any questions on that? No. Okay, take off.
That's the first of the 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, every grandmama practically that's black in the hood in America is in fear of their lives every day, that their door is going to be kicked in. And many times they kick in doors for people who have the wrong location or have the wrong intelligence and take people's lives. This is a constant thing. This is part of hell. Okay, let me read a little more. In addition to barring the execution of warrants without knocking, the measure also set new guidelines for other types of search warrants. According to a statement with the council, from the council, it requires that police officers have their body cameras on when conducting searches and set a minimum time period before and after the operation that the cameras must remain active, which shows you they got to keep the camera. They need the cameras and they need it active so that they can tell all the evil being done by these officers. Like you need body cameras on officers because they such criminals, man. They're so damn corrupt, and they're corrupt because you've unleashed them on blacks and Latinos and natives unabridged, because you look at these people like animals. You've categorized them as animals, militarized the police department, and then unleashed them on blacks and Latinos and Native Indians.
Men in Kevlar vests and helmets, camouflage, carrying automatic rifles, moving in tactical armored vehicles. These aren't American troops on the battlefield, but police in Ferguson. More than 500 MRAPs have made their way from Afghanistan and Iraq to local police forces in America just over the past couple of years. It's part of what the ACLU, in a recent report, called the excessive militarization of American policing.
When a police officer traditionally is supposed to be there to help and serve, but instead, police forces today are there to oppress. And so now finally they're going to pass this law. Now let's see how many other cities with millions and millions of blacks and Latinos and natives living in their cities. Let's see how many of them are going to follow suit without more riots. You know what I mean? Not that I'm advocating riots and protests. I don't think that changes much. But in this particular case, it finally got one small law that should have been changed 45, 30, 40 years ago. It should have been fixed. So real quick. So now they'll have to wear body cameras, okay, when conducting searches. And of course, they'll try to work a way around it, you understand? And then on top of this, when they kicked in the door and murdered this sister by shooting her 8 times, the police union had the nerve to blast the judge and to say that the judge was dead wrong, that the judge should not have freed the brother after they killed his wife in his house, after he tried to defend himself against such an evil attack by these beasts, man. It was ridiculous. So let me go on to Eleanor Bumpers. Let me tell you a little bit about Eleanor Bumpers. I'll just give you a refresher if you haven't heard the story in a while. The shooting of Eleanor Bumpers by the New York Police Department occurred in October 29, 1984. After this happened in 1984, all no-knock warrants should have been wiped out. Okay? And not only that, tons of laws should have been changed. But again, you the Lord's chosen people and you in captivity. And you got to wake up and come out of it. Let me read on. The police were present to enforce a city-ordered eviction of Bumpers, an elderly, disabled African-American woman from the public housing apartments. You know how much rent she was paying? She was paying at that time $234 rent. That was her rent. So for $234, you telling me they had to bring the police, kick in her door. This was an elderly woman and she was disabled. The hell were they doing trying to evict her 36 years ago from public housing in an apartment in the Bronx? In requesting the NYPD's assistance, housing authority workers told police that Bumpers was emotionally disturbed and threatened to throw boiling lye and was using a knife to resist the eviction. They told the police this, okay? When Bumpers refused to open the door, she didn't open the door. Police did the usual, bust the damn door down, and in the struggle to subdue her, one officer shot her twice with a 12-gauge shotgun, man. With a 12-gauge shotgun. Blew her away twice. An elderly grandmama that was already disabled. I wonder how a disabled woman was able to attack these police. And I remember it, you know, like it was yesterday. It set off outrage in the city. It set off outrage. Now, here's the thing. If you had the Lord's leadership, they would have already passed these laws. They would have already readjusted. They would have already had these things cut off for the murder of the Lord's chosen people. And that day is coming. That day, this protest might not yield a lot, but in the short future, they will commit more brutal acts against the Most High's people until you decide to call on the Lord and not look at these cities as though that they are your cities or cities that will bless you, or that you being a part of this could actually fix this. After a while, you begin to say, you know what? We must pray to the Lord because there's no other avenue. Let me give you two quick scriptures if I could, and show you the spirit on this place. And again, they went in there like gangbusters in a city housing apartment to throw out a disabled black woman, all for the $200 a month they was going to get from the new tenants. And this is the spirit of this place. And this is why these cities have brutal eviction laws and brutal mortgage laws and brutal gangsterism by the sheriff's departments. All because this is part of the oppression of making money. This is how this empire makes money. You are the commodity whether you know it or not. You are the commodity being sold and bought here. You are the commodity for these things, man. They could have been defunded this with the righteous leadership of the Lord in charge of these cities. You would see the lives of blacks and Latinos and natives change overnight. Now, those leaders would have to come up against those Edomites that hate them so much. You'd have to buck up against them. You'd have to vote in a way that they wouldn't like you vote. You'd have to come together in ways you wouldn't like. Instead, we have those that are educated by them and who sit there and placate to them and to their cronies and to money. And as a result, it gets a slow burn, okay? So let me just throw this one in there. And this is going back, this 1 Kings 20:5. This is going back when King Ben-Hadad, which was the king of Syria, was coming down on the leadership of the children of Israel. Because the Syrians oppressed God's chosen people as well for many, many years. They were up in Syria above the land of Israel, our people. And they would oppress us. I mean, they'd come down and just rob and steal all our resources. We had to pay ridiculous taxes and ridiculous fees to them. It was a mess. And the messengers came again and said, "Thus speaketh Ben-Hadad, Syrian king, saying, although I have sent unto thee, saying, thou shalt deliver me thy silver and thy gold and thy wives and thy children." This is something to learn too. Okay, as you waking up and becoming a Hebrew Israelite, you learning the knowledge of the Hebrew Israelites, what you need to learn is that nations really prosper off of the power they have over other nations. This is why Christ's kingdom is going to be ruled by Christ and the children of Israel. This notion that a kingdom will be built with all people in it together in a rainbow is a lie. It has never been the case in history, neither will it be the case in the future. What is promised to the children of Israel is this, that all these nations that had a chance to rule over you, steal everything you had, live deliciously while you were in poverty and in hell, the day is coming where they all will now be up under you, and you will be a better leader than they ever were, and they still will be paying you huge tributes, and you will be the one living deliciously. And the only difference is your kingdom will go on forever and ever, will never fall again, because of all of these lessons that will be learned. These lessons that we're going over in these scriptures will be taught in the universities of Christ's kingdom. And the in-depth understanding in this Bible is what will be taught in universities. The law, when somebody will want to become a lawyer in the future in Christ's kingdom, they will go to law school and learn about the Lord's law. Just like you go to law school in America and learn about American law, you'll be going to school in Christ's kingdom learning about God's law in the first 5 books of Moses. You'll learn about that law. You'll learn about morality from the Psalms and from the Proverbs and from the words of Christ during the Roman rulership and from all the prophets. That'll be your morality learning. You'll learn everything according to Christ's kingdom, and his kingdom will go on forever and ever, just like these kingdoms ran for periods of time. But all these kingdoms are going to fall under the hands of Christ. And so this king, at his time, when he ruled and was over the top of us, he did what all kings did at that time and throughout history, which was eat up the people who were underneath them. Eat them up is what they did. And so this is exactly what happened. Here's what he said. He said, although I sent thee, saying, thou shalt deliver me thy silver and thy gold and wives and thy children. 6th verse, 1 Kings 20:6. Yet I will set my servants to thee tomorrow. I will send my servants to thee tomorrow about this time, and they shall search thine house and the houses of thy servants. And it shall be that whatsoever is pleasant in thine eyes, they shall put it in their hand and take it away. This is what the king of Syria said. He said, man, I'm taking everything that's worth something from you. I'm taking it all from you. And that's the spirit of your ruler. That's why Eleanor Bumpers' house was kicked in. We don't know the full story on what happened with Breonna Taylor. They used the cover of criminal enterprises, but the real deal is, the real door knock kick-ins is these evictions. You got mortgage companies ripping off and robbing black people and Latino people and Native Indian people all kinds of ways. And when they can no longer pay no more because of the constraint of the empire, then they come in and use their sheriff departments and they come in and steal all the properties from these people, man. And that's what they did in the Bronx. And Eleanor Bumper had an elderly black woman, disabled, living in the housing projects in utter poverty on the last bit of her life. They come in with 12-gauge shotguns and blow her the hell away just to get her out the apartment so they can rent it to another poor black family and suck the life out of them for whoever knows how long. You could have left her in there and it wouldn't have changed anything. It's city housing anyway. And this is what goes on. You want to see the reality of your world? Wait till the 1st of the month. Wait till about the 1st or about the 3rd of the month, the 5th of the month, and ride through your hood and look at all the people's property that's sitting out on the stoop and on the curb by landlords who put them out in the street. Why? Because your society has been destroyed in the black community, man. And you need to wake up and see. And that's why God shut off your sports, man. He shut off your sports and shut off your entertainment and did these things so you could open your eyes and see the world that's around you and what they're planning to do next to you. Let me get one more. This is Psalms 49:11. Here's what it says. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. See, they looking at their houses like they're going to continue forever. Okay? And their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. They set their lands up, change the name of their land, set it after themselves, because in their mind, they believe they're going to go on forever. Here's what the Lord said. Psalms 49:12. Nevertheless, man being in honor abideth not. Meaning when man get lifted up and he being set up in honor and power, he don't obey the Lord. He is like the beast that perisheth. He rise up, he become powerful, and then he become an animal, and the Lord come in and have to take him out. And that's why the Lord's chosen people will rule. Everybody ain't ruling in a kumbaya moment. Christ's kingdom is for the 12 lost tribes of the children of Israel. That's biblical facts. Let's go on. This, their way, is their folly. This idea, this mindset that the nations have had, the Lord call it folly. It's foolishness. It's silly and foolish and dumb. He calls it folly. Yet their posterity, meaning their descendants, approve their sayings, meaning their children come generation after generation and approve their sayings. They approve them Confederate flags. They approve them Confederate soldiers' statues. You got black men joining the military. They go to a military base, and that military base is mascotted with a Confederate general, a Confederate lieutenant, somebody that fought to make sure that they stayed in slavery, and they sitting in the military serving under that mascot. Okay, the empire only, once again, because of the outrage that has taken place over George Floyd's death, does the empire now turn around and finally taking down in the North, mind you, Confederate statues that were totally representative of slavery, totally representative of it. Nobody cares, man. Nobody cares about you except Christ. Christ is the one that truly cares about who you are and your future. And he deserves that you serve him. He deserves that you go back and learn the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord and follow them. And that you pray to the Father in heaven that he give Christ the power to step in and set the world aright. Because every nation will there'll be, like the scripture said, there'll be war no more. Every nation will have to bow down to Christ and do what he says. And there'll be peace on this earth because the animals of these nations that otherwise would eat you alive will be put in their place forever. And the earth will become what it was supposed to be from the beginning, which was an amazing paradise. That's what it was supposed to be. Hey, I'll see y'all live on the next one, y'all. Shalom. I want you to stay strong in the spirit of the Lord. Hey, listen, if you like this tape, hit the like button and share it, man. Hit the share button. Everybody share it to their own personal Facebook accounts. Share this video, man, to wake up brothers and sisters all over this earth. Hit the like button. Check me out Monday night. I'm live every Monday night. I bring the heavy hitters in. We do it up live right on this same channel. I'll see you then.